I'm Lauren with Analyzing Horror, and welcome to Women in Horror Month with the Horror Miser Monty G.
Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the Horror Miser Monty G. Us continuing the celebration of Women in Horror Month, and this time I have the lovely Lauren from Analyzing Horror. Lauren, say hi to everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, so definitely, when I came across Lauren's channel, and I said, "Wow, look at this woman! First of all, she's very, very beautiful, but she's so innocent, and it's like she loves horror." I said, "I got to listen to what she says," and I definitely subscribed to her channel, and she has one of the best clothing ever. I'm gonna let her do that later on. But obviously, Lauren, being a woman like yourself, and being a woman yourself, how did you get into horror?
Well, there are a lot of different avenues that actually came into horror. I remember one of my first horror movies that I saw, my mom introduced me to Jaws. And I just remember being so terrified, but also exhilarated at the same time. It's funny because I would be terrified to swim in the deep end of like the neighborhood pool after watching it. But at the same time, I was just like, I want to watch that again. And then also my dad is a big M. Night Shyamalan fan. So we watched Signs and The Sixth Sense. And I just got a really good variation of horror when I was little, or I guess you could call them thrillers. But yeah, I really just loved like that adrenaline rush that you get when like you're scared, but at the same time, like you almost feel brave after finishing a movie. So I feel like that's initially what started me on the path. And then it was like, sleepovers, we'd watch The Ring or The Grudge, and I'd be traumatized for a week, and I need to watch another one immediately. So, yeah, it's that addiction, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know why my mother took my brother and I to go see Jaws when it first came out the theaters. I was born in the '70s, so I'm a '70s kid,
Right.
and my mother took my brother and I to go see Jaws in the theaters.
Mhm.
And while I wasn't really scared, I was still fascinated by how great that film was, and of course, obviously,
Yeah.
John Williams' haunting music. I think that
Yeah.
scared me more than the shark itself.
I
Uh,
know. That first person shark at the very beginning where you don't even see the thing, but the
mhm,
music plus like being the shark in the water and seeing the girl, terrifying.
mhm. Yeah, and even like I said, even though I wasn't scared of the shark, but the music really got on my nerves, and then ever since that time, I don't swim in the ocean. I don't swim in the ocean because sharks are real.
I know. I know. It's absolutely terrifying. I think sharks and Jaws also introduced a fascination for sharks for me as well.
Hmm.
I think that they are just such interesting creatures. And I feel like you hear a lot of stories about how Jaws like scared people away from sharks and like it almost like drew me towards them. Like I find them so interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sharks are very interesting creatures when you actually know what they are. First
Mhm.
of all, they don't roar because they don't have any vocal cords,
Yeah,
so
they do not roar.
they do
That is
not roar.
really correct.
So people don't think that shark is actually roaring in Jaws of Revenge. No, they have no vocal cords, so they can't roar. So let's knock that out of the
Yeah,
equation. Sharks
that's not
really
factual.
don't. Yeah, sharks really don't eat humans. They just think you're a squeal, so they bite
Yeah,
you. But unfortunately, they don't. Then just like somebody said, they don't like how we taste, but they're going to bite you because that's what sharks do.
exactly.
Yeah, but that's why I got fascinated with sharks because of Jaws. And now
Mhm.
I just watch almost every shark movie, or when it's Shark Week, that's when I really go
Great.
into.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was your first experience was watching Jaws.
Mhm.
Obviously, when you are watching horror, what is your favorite subgenre of horror?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I'm all over the place. Like I don't think that there's any subgenre that I wouldn't watch, but I guess my favorite subgenre would be like the zombie infected.
Mm,
And it's kind of funny because when I was younger, like when I was first getting into horror, zombies, like the slow zombies, I was just like that's not scary. You can outrun them. That's so easy. But as I got older, I watched like Dawn of the Dead, and then also like 28 Days Later, and all different kinds. And I find them absolutely terrifying. It's like not only the fast ones are terrifying, but even the slow ones, like if you get cornered somewhere and then they just start eating you alive, I think that's like one of the most terrifying things
Yeah,
possible.
I think The Walking Dead made the slow zombies more threatening, mainly because
Right.
of the zombie hordes that they normally
Yeah.
have. But even still, there still can be threatening in them. So I thought the Walking Dead, I thought everybody on that show did a fantastic job to make slow zombies just as terrifying as running zombies. But
Right.
still, to me, no, I still prefer running zombies. Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder one, is always my favorite zombie picture.
Yeah, yeah, the classic Georgia Romero, that one is fantastic. And like I said, the slow zombie in that one, where like if you get cornered in like an alley or something, there's no escape. Like there's this slow horde coming towards you, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you're just sitting there like analyzing what is about to happen to you. It's just so scary. But I'm also a huge. I am a video gamer,
Hmm.
so I love The Last of Us, and that's another aspect of like zombie and just infected that I just really enjoy. I personally am a fast zombie infected kind of person, but like I said, the slow zombie really is like started to unnerve me as I've gotten older, and just like
Oh, okay.
like you get in your head whenever you're trapped and stuff, so it's terrifying.
You're a gamer too?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I'm not all
oh,
over the place, but
oh,
like I
okay.
said, Last of Us is my favorite.
I never got a chance to play The Last of Us, but I heard how great that game is. I'm assuming that you played all the Resident Evil games.
I've actually only played two, and the Ethan ones, the
Oh, the Resident
Biohazard and Village. So
Village and Seven.
yeah, I love Biohazard. That one's I think my favorite that I've played. But yeah, Village was very fun too.
Because I have all the Resident, because I actually had all the PlayStation Resident Evil games, and obviously now since the remakes come on, I've got all the remakes. So I have all the Resident Evil games, even the remakes on my PC. On my
Yeah,
PC, so I'm just waiting for the Resident Evil 4 that's going to come out this year. I'm going to have that, or I'll have the remake. So I'll get rid of the old one and put the remake one. So I'll play that when that comes out.
yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
look really great. The remakes. Um, it's funny. I mentioned about my parents. Like my mom, outside of introducing me to Jaws, she was not a very big like horror person, and she actively discouraged me against it. Whereas my dad was into it. So when I was younger, I've been kind of a gamer since I think I was like 10. I've owned every single PlayStation console.
Ooh.
But I was very early on. I was very much a Harry Potter video game player.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like if I had asked to play any of the Resident Evil or Silent Hill or anything like that, my mom would have just like clutched her pearls. So I unfortunately had to pass on those games. So as older and like being able to make my own choices, obviously, I'm going back and getting to play some games that people grew up with, which is unfortunate on my end, but it's really cool to still experience them.
Oh yes, yes. It's amazing because my mother did not want me to go see the, because being a horror guy myself, I really wanted to go see The Exorcist when it first came out in the theaters, and my mom said, "No, you can't go and see it because it's too scary." So me and my
Yeah.
boys, we snuck in and go saw it.
That's how you do it.
We saw it go saw it. So I can tell you firsthand, yes, it was that crowded, and yes, half the people freaked out.
Oh wow.
They
I bet
freaked
it's a great
out. A
experience.
few people threw up in the theater, and a couple people left out the theater. I think probably the second time, no, the first time Reagan is bouncing upside the bed, and then she's obviously cursing at the priest, and unfortunately doing her playing. I'm trying to keep it clean, trying to keep it clean.
You're talking about the crucifix scene?
Not the scene the first time when she's telling the doctors to go f themselves or
Right.
f her. They actually left out the crucifix scene. They actually people stayed during the crucifix scene. No, don't ask me why.
I know. Like, I feel like that would be the one that people would walk out
Yeah, no,
on.
yeah, I thought they was going to leave out during the crucifix scene
No.
because I I only know portions of the book because I did not read the book until later on. But someone had told me that there was a scene where she does something with a crucifix, and I didn't know what. But when I saw that scene, I saw this is what everyone's crying about. Now I figured people was going to leave at that scene, but they didn't.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm a 90s baby, so I obviously didn't get to experience it in theaters, but I often wonder when I rewatch it, just like I wonder what, because it was such a controversial movie, right, when it first came out. So I'm always so curious,
Oh
like
yeah,
theater.
it was. It was. It's always been my number one horror film of all time.
Mhm.
Because when you read when no after reading the book and watching that film, and it's really hard for horror movies to try to say they're the scariest movie of all time, and some come close, but most of the time it's not. I said no, you can't. You're not going to top The Exorcist.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, especially during the time period, like I imagine that, like you said, some people threw up. Like that is something I've never experienced in theaters. So.
Yeah, yeah, because I think back during the '70s, they actually had barf bags at certain movie
Seriously.
theaters. Yeah, they really did. They
Oh
actually
my
had
God.
barf bags. So it's like, no, my movie experience from the '70s was crazy because some of the movies that were coming out, they were either ultra violent or something that was never done in the movie theaters before, like I Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They weren't, to me, they weren't really scary. They was very ultra violent. It seems like it seemed like the film producers or the horror movie directors were trying to out roast themselves during that time period.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, you watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like you hear all behind the scenes about how like kept them in like extreme heat and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff like that. Like it's kind of crazy. Also like The Shining, just like everything that went on behind the scenes and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy to think about how they were able to do that and push the limits and push their actors, but despite all of like the negative aspects of it, like, you get like an incredible movie that still stands the test of time. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting.
Okay. Now, as a woman, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you've seen I'm pretty sure you've seen perhaps maybe the old fashioned horror movies, mainly like from King Kong all the way up, I would say up to Megan. How would you think how women are portrayed in horror films, say from Fay Ray from King Kong up until Megan of this year?
I mean, you definitely see like that's a good question. I feel like when movies are a little bit older, you see just like how the way women are I guess, treated in the
Mm-hmm.
time period. There are some that, let's say, are like the chained to the kitchen kind of people. They're the ones that are constantly like afraid and not necessarily nearly as brave as you may see in modern horror. So I guess you do see women kind of taking like a back seat in older movies compared to newer ones, where sometimes they're the main protagonist, sometimes they're ultra brave and stuff like that. So I guess you could see differences in that aspect. But yeah, Megan is really interesting too because it's almost predominantly like a female cast, with the exception of course, there are a couple of men. And I just think it's quite interesting that we've come like this far where like Megan can not only like exist, but be as excuse me, but be as successful as it has been.
Yeah, I know. Yes, yes. Truly was very happy that the success Megan has come, and I think because another question I ask you later on that we have not had a female antagonist become a horror
Mhm.
icon, and
Right.
that's great to see that. Hopefully, that can happen. Obviously, during the '80s, we had what we called the final girl.
Mhm.
What is your aspects of seeing how the final girls have become since the '80s slasher films up until I would say from maybe I don't know if you just saw Prey this last year.
Yeah, I saw Prey. Um,
Okay.
when you were talking about modern Final Girl, I also thought of I forget the character's name, but Samara Weaving and Ready or Not.
Hmm.
Another one that I think about. But yeah, that's really interesting. I check IMDb all the time, so I'm sorry I'm not great with character names. But the woman that was the final girl in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, she's one of my absolute favorites because I feel like she fights like hell.
Hmm.
But I think it's very interesting how um like how she was presented in Texas Chainsaw and then Samara Weaving and Ready or Not, like they are I- yeah, I guess outside of like maybe Halloween, where Laurie Strode is of course like our main protagonist,
Hmm.
you often see them like in a group and then they end up being whittled down and then she's the one that survives. Whereas I keep saying Ready or Not, like she's like the main protagonist that we're following almost the entire time.
Hmm.
So I guess maybe that's for me the biggest difference. But um, I love a strong final girl, and I think that anytime a woman in horror that fights like hell to survive is incredibly inspirational. And so I guess that's a universal thing across all of the generations that we've seen Final Girls.
Yeah, because I thought we might see a bit change because everyone thinks about Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, and Aliens, and
Yeah,
how a strong character she is.
she's so
Uh,
great.
yeah, no, so great in that one. I think, well, maybe we finally get a change where we don't see an actual strong final girl, but that seemed to not take place. Maybe until I guess you can say Sidney Prescott in Scream, because
Yeah.
I figure that you're probably a Scream fan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love
Hmm.
Sydney Prescott too. And um like I would agree that she's not the same as like Ripley and Alien, but at the same time, like I said, like she does fight like hell. Like I think of that first scene in the original Scream where she uses like the double door to like try to like block
Hmm.
Ghostface. And like I love watching the final girls in the moment because I'm always just thinking like I really hope that if I ever have to deal with a situation like this that I would be as quick thinking because like I sometimes trip over my own feet, so I'm just like really concerned. Like I really would like to be that, so hopefully watching all these horror movies will make me prepared.
Yeah, don't worry. I do the same thing with both.
Yeah.
I trip up my own feet. I don't think I would last that long in a horror film. I got caught in this. I wouldn't make stupid decisions, but I probably knowing me, I probably trip on my own feet.
Right, or you take the wrong turn and end up in like a dead end or something like that.
Mm.
That's my biggest fear. Making the wrong choice in the last minute.
Okay. Now, as a woman, obviously there are certain types of horror tropes in horror films. Do you like gore in horror films?
Yeah, I definitely do. I feel like you brought up the innocent face and stuff. Like I've watched movies like The Sadness and Terrifier, like some crazy gore movies, and people
Mm-hmm.
were like, "Oh my god, like you like them?" Yeah, I like that. I I will admit though, part of it is because like I love cinema as well. So like I don't
Hmm.
just watch it where it's like, "Oh my god, it's super gory," but it's just like how did they make that scene? Because that was incredible. And so I look it up and like find out like how I watched this behind the scenes video where like Terrifier, they use like the chute to like kind of like they blow into it and then the blood comes out on the other end. Like I think the behind the scenes aspect of horror is super fascinating.
Yeah,
So
no,
but yeah.
I'm pretty sure they probably had how they create the bisection scene in the original Terrifier.
Yeah.
I still find that scene fascinating. I say, I wonder how they actually pulled that off to make it as gory as that scene was.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I actually avoided it for that. I knew that scene existed, so it's just
Mm.
like I don't know about this one, but yeah. As I got more comfortable, like in just like horror and seeing like more like graphic, gory scenes, I finally checked it out, and I just like I don't know why I waited so long because it's so fantastic.
Yeah, because it's amazing because when the sadness came out, and I
Mm,
was like, wow, this is not just the gore, it's the behavior of the people that really set that film off.
I know.
And that I don't know what it is with South Korea. They really don't pull any punches when it comes to their horror.
They go hard with horror. I
Hmm.
love it. But yeah, I remember watching The Sadness, and I have, like mutuals on Instagram and Twitter where they did not like it for a certain scene in particular. But
Oh yeah, I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, but I just, like I said, I'm a huge zombie infected fan, and that was the most terrifying version of zombie infected that I have ever seen. And like the fact that they go that extra mile, if you know what I'm talking about, like
Mm.
before they kill you, they do other things. I don't again, as a woman, I don't really shy away from that because I personally just that adds to the horror for me. Where like
Hmm.
they don't just kill you, like they want to deprave you first, and that I would never want to be a victim in that situation. So like getting to like watch chase scenes and stuff, like those would be those moments where I would literally fight like hell. Like I'd rather like decease myself first than have them get their hands on me, kind of thing. So I don't know. It was very effective. And it was one of those movies where I finished the movie and then I had to go for an errand. And I was like driving and just kind of looking around, amazed that like I live in like this structured society. That was the exact opposite of what I saw in the movie. Like, I don't know. Movies that affect you that much, like I really love them.
Okay. Now, obviously, what decided for you to become a YouTuber and create Analyzing Horror?
Um, well, I actually originally, so my Twitter account was the first thing I created actually, and it
Mm,
was with the intention of doing writing on this platform called Medium.
hmm
Um, I've always wanted to be a writer, so I originally thought that I could like write horror movie reviews and stuff like that. And then I started on Letterboxd soon after that, and just a couple months on Twitter and just like trying to be active as much as possible. I had some people be like, "You would be great on YouTube, like reviewing and stuff." And it was always kind of in the back of my head, but like I just kept thinking, like little old me, like who cares about me? Like there's so many other movie reviewers out there. Like why
Uh-huh.
would you care about what I have to think? But then I gave it a shot, and it kind of boomed after that. And yeah, so it's been really fantastic getting as much positive feedback as I did not expect it, but it's
Yeah,
been
because
brilliant.
it was because I was watching the big guys like Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns,
Yes,
and
exactly.
watching them, and then I said to myself, "Where are all the horror channels at? I want to see
Right.
some horror channels." And then I eventually found Emma from Spooky Astronauts,
Yes.
Cecil from the Horror Show,
Hmm.
my good friends Dan and Gloria from Horror Addicts,
Hmm.
and I think it was mainly those people that convinced me to go on ahead and create my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
YouTube
Yeah.
channel.
There's another, her name is Sarah from Possessed by Horror.
Yeah.
Um, I really loved her, and Emma, of course, from Spooky Astronauts. But when I approached my channel, I really wanted my channel to be a combination of Possessed by Horror and Emma from Spooky Astronauts combined with Jeremy Johns, because
hmm
I love Jeremy so much. I love how like he only does like 5 minute videos, but he's able to like throw his personality in, but at the same time give a very good crisp review.
hmm
Um, and so I really wanted to kind of like blend all three of those YouTubers together in terms of like how I approached my channel. And yeah, so it's been great. Like I love that there are YouTubers out there that are really successful that can inspire others to start channels like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. How did you come up with the name Analyzing Horror?
um nothing too insightful. I felt like I wanted obviously something that involved horror because it
hmm
was going to be a horror channel. But I like the idea of analyzing horror was not taken first of all, and then I thought it was quite interesting where I could just use that without any numbers. And I spell it in the British spelling because I'm ever since I was a little girl. I mentioned Harry Potter earlier. I've been a huge fan of both Harry Potter and just like Britain in general.
hmm
Um, and so I thought that also gave me kind of like a bit of an edge where like it's spelled differently, and so maybe like stands out a little bit more. So
Yeah, because you use the S instead of the Z.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, like ever since I was 10 years old, I've been obsessed, and like not like just like Britain, but I love the cultural differences that we have, US to UK, and like we spell things differently. Like chips mean crisps over there, and just
hmm
our architecture. And
Have you ever been to London?
yeah, I've actually been to multiple places in the UK for like maybe 4 or 5 times. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, my wife and I we went to London about 3 years ago now. Yeah, about 3 years ago now, and
oh,
I
wonderful.
loved it. Loved it. I really wanted to go see the Harry Potter experience because I'm a huge
Mhm.
Harry Potter fan myself.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I love Harry Potter too.
that's great. Yeah, I
Yeah, right.
think I went
But
back and like, sorry, go ahead.
unfortunately, it was too far from where we were staying at. We were staying
Mm,
at. There's no way for me to get there. But no,
right.
but I make sure I still got some Harry Potter stuff while I was there.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I went to that experience, I think, back in 2017, and then I think a year or two later, I visited York, which was a bit of inspiration for Diagon Alley. So, yeah.
Did you visit the London Dungeon?
No, I haven't done that one yet. No.
You got to do the London Dungeon.
That's creepy.
I went to the London Dungeon, and I don't know what in the world were these people thinking. There's a activity that mimics Jack the Ripper, and
Oh,
you're in this pub, and for some reason these adults had these kids there. I mean, not regular kids, and really toddlers.
oh
And
no.
this one, and unfortunately, this one, at this one point, you really get somebody dressed as Jack the Ripper leap out of nowhere, scared the shit out of them. I mean, literally just scared the crap out of these two kids, and they left crying. I'm like, why do you bring these kids inside? This is a horror place.
No, apparently the disclaimer wasn't clear enough. Yeah, that would be terrible.
I mean, they have disclaimers in there because they do some flashing, and then most of them know actors. You know, they have this one actor that's in the cage. You don't see anything at first, and the lights go out. The next thing you know, the actor appears in the cage, and if you're close enough, she might reach out and try to touch you.
Yeah,
try to touch you, and it's like, yeah. So if you ever go back, definitely do the London Dungeon.
Definitely.
It's right across from the Millennium Circle, if I remember that correctly.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Now, as a woman, I'm pretty sure you might have an idea, especially during the 80s, when the slasher craze. Gratuitous nudity. I don't know what people were thinking about, but it seemed like every time we had a slasher film, we had to see naked ladies. No,
Sure.
what was your feelings? What was your feelings about seeing all that gratuitous nudity back then?
Well, I guess it depends. I was actually just recently asked this about like sex scenes during slashers and stuff. I don't mind it as much as maybe you would expect. I think that the aspect of like you're so focused on a certain thing that someone can sneak up right behind you and like start attacking you. I think that's a really brilliant kill dynamic. I don't know. If I'm being honest, I'm bisexual, so the nudity isn't that big of a deal for me. But yeah, like I mean, I think that as long as it makes sense in the story, it's not a big deal. If it's gratuitous and also like sexual assault and stuff like that. If it makes sense in the story, if it's like a revenge assault kind of story, that makes sense to me. If it's just there for like glorification, gratuitous sake, then I'm not a fan of that. But
No.
yeah, I think that that's not as big of a issue for me, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, another subgenre that I'm pretty sure that might offend some women, especially women in horror, is obviously the rape revenge horror films. Whether it's
Right.
I know I Spit on Your Grave, the original or the remakes, Last House on the Left. That I think was an Australian horror film called Revenge. What do you think about those horror films?
It's kind of like what I just said. If it makes sense in the story, obviously the scene itself is horrible. I was just talking with a friend yesterday about, I think it's called Marcy May, and there's like a couple of other names with that. That's
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of like what I said earlier about the sadness, where like if it's a very effective, if a movie is very effective to the point where it makes me think about it for a long time, I personally enjoy it. I'm also a true crime fan, so I know that that's a reality in our world. So I don't necessarily shy away from that. Again, if it's just there for their sake to kind of just be like gratuitous, I don't appreciate that. But if it is something horrible happens to a woman and then she gets her revenge, like I am there for the revenge part. Like I think that is worth watching the movie. But yeah, I guess I'm not too shy from situations like that, just because I know that that's a part of like what reality is. And I kind of call that crime horror, where
Hmm.
it fits into like things that happen in our world.
That's a
So
new terminology. Never heard of crime porn before.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The fun. I like to make up my own subgenres.
That's a good one. I got to remember to use that one. Obviously, as a woman who loves horror, who is into horror, obviously we were talking about Megan. What would you like? Would you like to see a uh, a horror icon or a woman as a horror icon in the same league as Freddie, Jason, and Michael?
Yeah, yeah, I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
That is something also that, and um not to get like too ridiculous or anything, but with like the Me Too and stuff like that, I feel like we've
Hmm.
almost kind of like made it feel like women are only angels, and we forget that there are multiple like female serial killers. So it would be kind of cool to see like kind of that brought to life a little bit through like a Freddy or Jason or something like that, where we have kind of like a female antagonist. Like Megan is so adorable, so it's like hard not to root for her. But I would love I forget the actual serial killer's name, but Charlize Theron,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
Monster.
Yes.
Maybe we could get
Arlene
like,
Warnos.
yes, thank you. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe like with in that spirit, maybe we could get like a kind of like a female antagonist in that realm, because that would be terrifying.
Oh yeah, that would. I mean, it's like what? Because she just like how Megan looks innocent enough, you can probably have a woman antagonist who is innocent enough, but she'll kill you in a minute.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. There's the, what is it, femme fatale kind of
Yeah,
stereotype. We could
femme
lean to
fatale.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really cool.
Okay. Now, if you're writing your own horror picture, being a woman, what type of horror film would you make for yourself?
Like what I would write, or am
Yes.
I like
Right.
starring in it, or?
Yeah. Right. Since because Great Big Movie, she's a writer, and
Mhm,
that's why I want to ask this question. You being a writer,
mhm.
what type of a horror film would you make for yourself?
Oh man, like I feel like the zombie infected, just because I I love 20 Days Later, where it starts off with like the complete isolated London, like kind of
Hmm.
being by yourself aspect would be really scary.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I guess either I would go that route where we would start off with a completely like isolated area, and then you're also introduced to like there's a scarce amount of humans that are actually alive, and then there's the infected that are chasing you. Or I guess my next choice would be psychological. I really
Hmm.
love Black Swan with Natalie Portman.
I have not seen that one. Everyone tells me how good it is.
Oh my gosh, it's really great. It is more of a thriller than horror. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I personally call it horror just because if you were to put yourself in Natalie Portman's character's situation, that is horrifying. But
Hmm.
um, I think the downward spiral of someone's mentality is very interesting. So I think maybe I would go that route where like you would be in someone's mind and like watch them slowly unravel. Like, I feel like that would be really interesting to write.
Okay. All right. One of the last questions I'll ask you is, what would you like to see women in? Because women have come a long way in horror film. We now obviously have Akila Cooper who did *Malignant* and did
Mhm.
*Megan*. We have Nina DaCosta that did the *Candyman* remake.
Right.
Obviously Mia Goth, fantastic in *Pearl* and in *X*, and it's going to be back in *Maxine*. Where
Mhm.
would you like to see women now in horror films?
Um, I guess to reiterate what we were just talking about, maybe as like a main antagonist would be very interesting, and
Mhm.
kind of like the Texas Chainsaw vibes a little bit. I don't know. Like, I think that would be really interesting to see. I also feel like maybe a main protagonist, and we should bring back cosmic horror a little bit more. Like, I just
Mhm.
recently watched In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh yeah.
If mainly we could put the main character in Candyman in the Mouth of Madness, that would be kind of really fun. Um, but yeah, I feel like we have been introducing women in as like main protagonist roles in horror lately. I really love to see that. So I feel like maybe picking them up and putting them in like different types of subgenres that they haven't been in yet would be really cool. Because like Pearl is, as I said, a crime horror slasher kind of thing.
Hmm.
I mean, we have Infinity Pool coming out right around the corner, and
Hmm.
that would be really cool to see her in.
Oh
So
yeah, that's that looks fantastic.
I know, yeah,
David Cornberg and his body horror. You never can get enough about that.
I know. I'm so excited for it.
All right, so basically that's almost all the questions I have, but I will have that one question once again. Are you team Megan or are you team Chucky?
Oh, it's so tough. I love Chucky, but I I'm gonna have to go Megan because I just really love her and I love how she is adorable. So you're kind of disarmed by her at
Hmm.
first. So like she kind of can go in for the kill and like not realizing it.
Hmm.
That scene in the original Child's Play where she's like, "Talk, or I'm gonna throw it in the fire," and he just like starts attacking her. Like, I feel like Megan would have played that a little bit more strategically. So
All right, so the last thing I need for you to do when I do my live streams or I do recording like this, I give all my people a chance to go on ahead and promote their own channel. So go on ahead and tell my subscribers what's coming up on Analyzing Horror.
oh man. Well, February I'm going to be doing. This is another subgenre I've created. Top 10 love horror. So movies that maybe surround like a love or dating kind of situation that turns into something more sinister.
Mhm.
That's coming in February. I'm going to be doing. I do original versus remake videos. I do just full spoiler talk videos on movies. I also do spoiler free. So yeah, lots to look forward to this year.
All right, all right. So there you have it. That is Analyzing Horror with Lauren. And of course, this one time I will ask you, could you do your closing?
Sure. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so Black Phillip knows you'd like to live deliciously.
I cannot get enough of Black Phillip.
I know. Isn't he adorable? He's
I
got
know,
lots
yeah.
of
Where'd you get him from?
Amazon.
Oh, Amazon.
Yeah,
I might order me one.
I know. He's just
All right.
like a generic black goat, but I call him Philip.
Okay. If you have not subscribed to Lauren's channel, her link in her channel will be in the description box below. And once again, my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G, and always remember that horror rules. I'll see y'all guys later. Y'all have a good night.